Hi. Welcome. Hey, I'm Kraig. You guys have probably heard me on some of the other videos. I don't know if you've seen my face before, but I am doing a animated film list. 7 essential animated films. Zach has picked me to do this because I am a huge fan of animation. And the reason I believe animation is to be so important is because not only is it fun, I feel it is also the closest we're going to get to pulling things directly out of our subconscious. When we think of something in our mind, it comes up, we come up with iconography and symbols. You know, a lot of people, when they first start drawing, even, it's called symbol drawing. And you have to get past that because you have to draw real life. But the reason we draw with symbols is because as big and as wonderful as human brains are, they can only retain so much information. So the reason that animation works so well with us is because it works well with us on a subconscious level. We know that the characters on screen aren't real, but we can still empathize with them because they resemble the things that are very so much real to us. And above that, animation can go further beyond what most live action could do. Live action's getting better with CG. CG is starting to get to a point where it's not so glaringly obvious. But still, I would say that traditional animation is better because you never have to worry about something sticking out like a sore thumb because everything's just going to blend together in its own little condensed little world. We're going to start off with Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is probably going to be one of the better known videos, or one of the better known films on this video. The reason I put Fantastic Mr. Fox is because I knew that I wanted to put some kind of stop motion. And originally I was thinking Nightmare Before Christmas, but 2 reasons. I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is a little more impactful because it's not so much a children's film, and I personally love whenever animation steps outside of seeing itself as a children's film. But Nightmare Before Christmas was really close to getting onto this list because it is a fantastic movie and it is impactful in its own rights. Another one would be It's Such a Beautiful Day. If you haven't heard of this, it's a great little film. You might have seen some of this man's shorts online. He was pretty viral for a while. His videos were, at least. But I like It's Such a Beautiful Day because it shows that animation doesn't have to go above and beyond in a technical standpoint to still be impressive. The content is more important than the actual skill or just the overall presentation, I suppose. It being a film that doesn't require so much visual information, we're going to go to the exact opposite, which is Mind Game, which will just overload you with visuals. The animation is fantastic. It switches back and forth between really cartoony to realistic to sometimes even looking... They will take stills of the actors who are doing the voices and actually put their faces onto the characters in the movie. This is a great film. It's so fun to watch. I've seen it multiple times, and I don't usually like to rewatch movies more than once, like every couple years. But this film, every time I find out that no one's seen it, I'm more than willing to watch it with them again. It is just such a great adventure. I don't really know what else to say. I would just watch it for yourself. It's so much fun. Next after that is going to be A Waking Life. And the reason I picked A Waking Life is because I wanted to try to put all kinds of different types of animation on here, and Waking Life is my favorite when it comes to rotoscoping. And what better way to present animation in the sense that I see it, which is the subconscious, than having real life people turned into animation in the setting of a person's dreams. So I would definitely recommend seeing that. Next up, we have a movie by Ralph Bakshi. I had to put something by Bakshi on here. He is just a fantastic director. He kind of started from nothing and kind of like heavy-handed himself into the role that he eventually got. American Pop is fantastic because it romanticizes, or maybe romanticize isn't the right way to say it, but it truly captures a part of America, and it is the pop lifestyle. It goes through the different generations of American life, the different music that they listen to, the different lifestyles that were involved in that music, and then you just track this lineage of family all the way until the 80s, and it's just a great ride. And if you haven't seen anything by Ralph Bakshi, I definitely recommend it, and I would definitely recommend that you start off with American Pop. Alright, so this is like the least likely for people to have heard of. It's a movie called Angel's Egg. I almost don't want to tell you what the movie's actually about because I would like you guys to just watch it. This animation stands out against the others simply because everything is visual information. There is maybe at most 10 minutes of dialogue, if that, in the film. Everything is just all visual. But there is a story, there is a meaning behind the movie, and once you watch the movie, I recommend you watch the movie first, and then look into why the movie was made, and it just kind of pieces everything together, and it just makes it much better experience. And of course, if you've watched any of our other videos, you probably know that I am a huge fan of Perfect Blue. It is arguably my favorite movie of all time, and I could sit here and talk for days about it, but we already have a video speaking about Perfect Blue, and you should definitely check that out. And if you haven't watched Perfect Blue, watch Perfect Blue. But I will give a short example or a short reasoning as to why it's on my list. And as where these aren't in order, I would say this is number one. But Perfect Blue is probably the only animation on here that didn't need to be an animated film until you understand why it needs to be an animated film. With the story, with the characters, with the content being told, they could have easily put this into a live action film. But when you look past all that and look at the technique, the way the cuts are done, the way shots are framed, all the technical side of this film, it had to be an animation. Maybe you could technically do it in live action, but it had to be an animated film. It's the reason I picked this over something like Paprika, which a lot of people would say Paprika is a more impressive film by the same director, Satoshi Kon. But I feel like Perfect Blue is a perfect example for a movie that shows that animation can stand toe-to-toe with live action in its own court. I have a couple honorable mentions. I'm just going to kind of run through them pretty fast. I felt that I had to put these two. They're both Disney films. Lion King and Toy Story. I had to put Lion King because if you're a film of animation, then you probably know fairly well about the Disney Renaissance. Disney animation was just losing its popularity, and with movies like Lion King and Hercules and just all those early 90s movies that we all adored and grew up with, that is what we call the Renaissance. Now, Toy Story is going to be the first 3D animated film that really just hit the mainstream and just started a revolution. There's a lot of negatives that come along with that. Toy Story is fantastic and I love it. It did kind of hurt 2D animation, but, you know, that's just how things work. Eventually, art progresses. I've already mentioned The Nightmare Before Christmas, but we have Secret of Nim. Now, Secret of Nim is one of those movies where if you picked up the box art, you know, you just picked up the case and looked at the box art, you'd be like, okay, this is just some kids movie. There's a little mouse and a bird. But when you watch it, it's just so much more than that. It's dark, it's brooding, like it's fantastic. It definitely is a kid's film, but it stands really strong for being just a kid's film. And then I also have another great children's film, and I would argue that I didn't know which one to put. I have An American's Tale on here just because it's the original, but Fievel Goes West is also a fantastic film that I grew up with. Very fun, very... I don't know, it just has this mood to it. It really just puts you into this state of mind. I don't even know how to put it. But maybe it's just nostalgia speaking on my behalf. But beyond that, I would say Anastasia as well. Any of those films are fantastic, but if you don't watch those, definitely try to go through the 7 Essentials. At least check them out, you know, look into them, see if there's something you want to watch, and maybe give animation another chance.
Should they subscribe?
Yeah, they should definitely subscribe.
Think it was a bone?
Ah! Fuck you. He was pretty dope.